Hello, everyone. This is Jody Grinwald, and welcome to episode 17 of the Today is the Day Changemakers podcast. This week, I welcome my very special guest, Michele Siekerka, President and CEO of the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Michele and I have known each other for quite some time, and I am honored to have had the opportunity to work with her, for her, and call her a friend. She is a leader in New Jersey and brings with her such authenticity and a true passion to make a difference. She talks about being genuine in your business practice and about bringing your A game, and what to do if you're unable to. The New Jersey Business and Industry Association is the largest and most influential statewide employer association in the U.S., and I am honored to consult and lead the NJBIA's not-for-profit council. Whether you're an entrepreneur or a business of any size, membership gives the business community a collective voice. To learn more, visit njbia.org. Please subscribe, like, and share on the Today's the Day Changemakers YouTube channel or download on all streaming sites. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. Thank you so much and have a fabulous week. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Today is the Day Changemakers, where I get to interview the most amazing people who are the changemakers, the motivators, the inspirers, and those who are really just pushing through the status quo every single day. No challenge is too big for them. And today I am so excited to have someone that I've known for quite some time on with me. And Michele Siekerka is the CEO and president of the NJBIA, New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Hi, Michele. How are you?
Hey, Jody. I'm doing great, all things considered.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Michele and I have an interesting history. So we know each other since 2005. So I can't believe it's been that long.
Gosh, I know. Yeah.
I know, right? Back in the days when I was the regional director for the American Heart Association and never had an inkling in my mind that I'd even be starting a podcast. And I was running events, and Michele was on my executive committee and was the CEO and president of the Mid-Jersey Chamber. No, it was the Mercer County Chamber of Commerce, right?
Mercer Regional Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It had a couple of different names, I think, throughout the years. But yeah, you were there, and you started Chamber with a Heart team back then to help support the Heart Association and supported so many other organizations as well. So thank you so much for that. So I wanted to ask you.
Oh, you just took me back to a burst of history and what was like some really good memories, because I could see us in our shirts and, Chamber with a Heart. And I see Liz Tinzel there with me, and that was an extraordinary opportunity to support our community, which we always love doing for sure.
And you always did. And I so appreciated that and the work that you did for us. And that was a great chamber. You did. It was just a chamber when you walked in. When you were there, everybody felt like a family. It really did. It was a fabulous group. Now, and you've changed from there. You went to DEP, right?
Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then now you are obviously the CEO and president of the NJBIA, and you lead a statewide employer association that supports organizations across the state of New Jersey. So I don't know that every listener knows who the NJBIA is, and I think it would be really great if you could share a little background about the NJBIA.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very proud to lead the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. We represent over 1 million jobs across the state of New Jersey, and that's over 10,000 employees. So it's quite a broad swath, as I like to say. I think we represent the diversity of the state. So our members range from the corner pizzeria to the 1,000-employee call center to the biggest utilities and hospital systems, across the state of New Jersey. Our history, we're over 110 years old. I think we look pretty good for our age. We've held up well, but our history, we started with a foundation of representing manufacturing. So if you can picture an industrializing Trenton, 111 years ago, who was there? It was the steelmakers, and that was our original board of trustees. And then through the decades and century, we came to represent, as I said, every type of business known to man and woman. And our heart is at advocacy. We are here to help to ensure and to try to continue to put forward an affordable and regionally competitive business climate for the state of New Jersey. Now, to many, that may sound like an oxymoron because we know how difficult it is because New Jersey is not affordable and we are not regionally competitive. And so that's what we fight for tirelessly through our extraordinary advocacy team comprised of some amazing lobbyists. But because we know it's an expensive state, while we're trying to fix the problem over here, we have to help our businesses maneuver, as they work their way through the morass that is our public policy in New Jersey. And so we have great products and services that help to drive down the cost of doing business. Everything from a multiple employer health benefit program to now also a multiple employer 401k program. So these are very competitive products that small and mid-sized business could be very challenged standing up on their own. We bring you into a pool with our other members to drive the cost down, and BIA, belongs to those as well. We walk our walk when it comes to our products and services. Through COVID, we have been HR gurus all along, but through COVID, it really shone a light on how important our role as a trusted advisor on HR issues became. And so in the fall, we stood up a very, very comprehensive HR suite, which is a platform, a virtual platform where 24/7 folks can get answers to questions as part of their membership. And then you can buy up other products and services depending upon how sophisticated, we could actually help you write an employee handbook. So these are really important resources for business. And then of course we have great programming, the best program, whether it's, Meet a Policymaker, whether it's our Women Business Leaders Forum that we've done now for 6 years. Incredible executive leadership, whether it's what we do in diversity, equity, and inclusion, or what we do for our nonprofit community across the board. We're here to represent all businesses, large, small, and in between.
And I've been honored to help lead and launch the not-for-profit council for the NJBIA, and it has been incredible. And I know the nonprofits appreciate the fact that the NJBIA has seen the need for creating that niche for them. And of course, Women's Business Leaders Forum, I've been with it since before I even worked for the NJBIA, and now consulting with the NJBIA, I watched it grow. And it's so amazing to see something start from nothing, and I can't remember if it was like 150 people at the first one to over 500 at the last one, even virtually.
Yeah, extraordinary. And it's just the caliber of the speakers and the energy and the momentum. I get such a rise. And for me, the virtual was very successful. Hands down, incredibly successful. But the power of the room, I go back a year ago and standing, up at that podium in front of the room of the 500 plus women and seeing, the sea of enthusiasm and momentum out there and the energy level. And that energy level stays from beginning of conference to end, like it never dies down. It's an extraordinarily talented group of women who come together and lift and support each other and help to educate each other at the same time.
It really, truly is. And definitely we missed that this year. And we're trying to gain connection and perspective because we're lucky to have, I guess, Zoom, like we were just talking about before the interview, we were talking about what would we do if this was like 1995 and there was no Zoom? It would be torturous and we'd be in a lot more trouble than we're in right now. So
Oh, absolutely.
For technology. And then also our DEI, the DEI Council, so important. You're having such important conversations, bringing important people together to have these conversations. And I know that there's some upcoming events and more council meetings that'll be happening monthly for all of those councils, correct?
Oh, absolutely. The councils meet, monthly. Actually, we started quarterly and they wound up going monthly or every other month because they're just so popular and there's so much to talk about. And then we have our CEO executive roundtable too, where we invite our executive leaders quietly to share a very transparent manner the opportunities and challenges they're experiencing relative to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is key. This is what's important, right? Like we say, we have to continue to be relevant and stay relevant to our members and stay on top of the issues. Stay 3 steps ahead, Jody. You always hear me say, right? It's one thing to react to what's given to you. It's another thing to stay 3 steps ahead and be proactive. And we pride ourselves on being proactive. We also pride ourselves on being really, really good collaborators and facilitators. We can set a table and we can bring people around a table like nobody can. Our workforce efforts are a great testament to that, where we have, over 100 people around a workforce task force, everybody from K-16 through 3 departments of state, our members, nonprofits, students themselves, and businesses, all collaborating on how do we ensure a pipeline for the future workforce, because unfortunately, we're the number one out-migrator of 18 to 34-year-olds. And when you think of what we invest in K-12 to let them leave us when they're going to be our future workforce is pathetic. And so we need to not just keep them here, but we need to build their skills appropriately. So yeah, we're proud of what we do. You think we're proud of what we do? We're proud of what we do.
Well, we need to be, but I've heard you talk a lot about this out-migration, and it is really, you have taken really a strong stance on this and trying to do whatever you can to keep businesses here in the state of New Jersey. And that leads to this important question. We know that times are tough financially for businesses, and membership organizations obviously have taken a major hit during this time. If you're a small to mid-sized business, this is a really tough time. It's a tough time for everybody. But when you're, there's so many different membership organizations to join. And, we're very proud, and I'm very proud to be a part of it as a consultant. I'm very, proud of what you're proud of what you do too. But what benefits, if you yourself were a small to mid-sized company, what benefits would stand out to you? And why would you tell your team that the NJBIA needs to be a line item in the budget?
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly small to mid-sized business, which is our sweet spot. 50 employees or less is the super sweet spot for NJBIA. You can't go it alone. This is a complex world. Do you know how many businesses fail in their first 2 years? The majority. Okay. So, you can't go it alone. Here we are to help be your back office, right? You don't have perhaps that sophisticated HR expert sitting in the corner office that you can go to when the employee comes and stares you down and says, why this or why that? Okay. These are complex issues, but we're there to help you, right? So we can help you in the background with that. Some of those products or services I mentioned before, the health benefits and the 401k. These are ill affordable for many businesses. Okay. Businesses want to provide good benefits, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it attracts the best and the brightest workforce. The better a package that you can provide, the more you're going to attract the best workforce you can. And so we're here to help to, bring those types of resources to bear so you can be the best that you can be. And the other piece of this too is, your voice has to be heard. And you can't be out there grassroots alone. Grassroots is all about having multitude of voices come together. And so when BIA can have the power of those tens of thousands of voices around an issue, on advocacy, that's why we have the reputation that we do. And let me say, we take that reputation very seriously. It is an awesome responsibility to have the reputation that we do on advancing policy in the state and making sure that we don't mess that up. Right. And so you being a part of the collective business community gives you not just the resources and not just the voice, right? But it gives you the street cred too, because now you're part of something bigger than yourself. And consumers look for that as well, as do investors, shareholders, supply chain vendors, et cetera.
The Zach G. Player Kids Foundation was a member in its infancy of the NJBIA, and we didn't ever think about having a voice, right? Because you think when you're small, it doesn't really matter. But you did something incredible, I thought, during the pandemic. You did many things that were incredible, but it was a great opportunity. You brought the arts community together. You brought the dance studios. The dance studios that, whether they had 50 members or, that were a part of their dance studio or 250. They finally thought, wow, it actually matters what I have to say to a bigger organization. And you took that information and you brought it to the powers that be. And I think it's important to share that, because I don't think that a lot of these small organizations feel like their voice counts. Could you just share a little bit about how that worked?
Absolutely. And I have to say, people ask me, look, we're almost a year into COVID. And people know what we did during COVID for the business community. Not just our members, the business community, right, on the whole. If I had the shining proud moment, it's the one that you're talking about, because we gave a voice to those who weren't heard. And there was really two major groups. Was number one was absolutely the dance studios. People think like the dance studios, they employ tens of thousands of people across the state of New Jersey. And they enrich the lives of young children every single day. Think of every extracurricular activity that a child touches in their youth, right? Dance studios is one, but there were all these other indoor activities that we wound up into. So what happened was, it was June and the governor was talking about opening quote unquote, indoor activities. These businesses were left behind. They weren't on a list anywhere, right? And so what do? We literally got signatures from like 300 dance studio leaders. We wrote a letter to the governor. we got it in front of his eyes and they got included. And we did the same thing with the salon and spa industry. And I have to do, I'll do a shout out to Christine Modica, because, she really led this as a salon owner, along with James. And they were on Facebook. And on Facebook, they're getting people who are like kind of bombing in their meetings, and you can't strategize on Facebook. A Facebook group is not a place it's a place to push out information, but it's not a place to have confidential discussion about how you're going to plan policy for the future, right? Mm-hmm. So we gave them a home. We created the Salon and Spa Coalition, brought them into BIA and gave them a place where they could have the proper discussions and they could write the letters and they could be advocates for themselves. And we've been doing that for them. So those are the shining moments of when we saved Main Street businesses in the middle of the pandemic. And we'll put our hands up and proudly say we were right alongside of them, saving them. And to me, that's like the proudest moment of the past year, for sure.
And that was going to be a question of mine. So you answered that already. So, and that's an incredible moment. But you also said something that was really important, is that there were people that you worked with that weren't members. You said business is important. It doesn't matter whether you're a member or not. Really showcasing how the size of this type of organization can bring people together and why it is important to be a member. And you did that from your giving heart to really show to businesses, hey, we're here, we care. And that's the thing. And we're here to connect. And that's the other very important thing about the NJBIA is about that connection. It's incredible. We need each other. Businesses need to learn from each other. So, you shared what you're...
Oh, absolutely. Again, you just can't go it alone. Yep.
No, you can't. You can't go it alone. Now, you shared what your shining moment, a little bit about that through COVID, but I'm curious to know what that shining moment might be, what might have been for you in your past organizations like DEP and the Chamber. What would those look like?
Yeah. Well, DEP. So I was with DEP for 4.5 years, and I started there in one position as an assistant commissioner. It was economic growth and green energy, and we were actually lifting up offshore wind, back in 2010. And then I moved over to water resource management as the assistant commissioner. Well, then this thing called Superstorm Sandy happened. Now, imagine being in charge of water resource management during Superstorm Sandy, right? And so I have to say again, and maybe it's just because I don't know, I rise in the time of crisis. I mean, I've learned how to do that because I've found myself there. I have always been a change agent leader. I've always come into an organization that required a little reshuffling. And so I've always been a change agent. If you asked people, what type of leader is Michele, they'll say a lot of things, but people will say change agent. And so I think in that there's always a different type of crisis. And it's Superstorm Sandy, the first 3 weeks post Superstorm Sandy was 5 a.m. till midnight at the Rock. And the Rock is the regional operations center, the emergency center for the state police. And, I just can't even tell you the things we did. I'm so proud of my team. We had the GIS experts. And you had the federal government in there. You had 5 different departments of the federal government, the Army Corps and FEMA, and it was incredible. The brass, that was there. But who did they come to? They came to my little GIS team, right, in order to get generators and diesel fuel across the state during that horrific, right? Everybody was off the grid. And here we had wastewater treatment facilities who were dumping sludge into our waterways because they couldn't operate. And we created this incredible pipeline to help all these big institutions, not just wastewater treatment, but hospitals, et cetera. And the Army Corps worked with the Army Corps and FEMA to get generators and diesel fuel. And you think about, it's so funny, an emergency comes and you're in an emergency headquarters and it's like, okay, well, where's the playbook? There was no playbook for the fact that you could not get diesel fuel out of the ground in New Jersey. And to think, oh yeah, we'll just bring trucks. No. It was really incredible. So really proud. And then after that, in my role as the deputy commissioner, which is the number 2 person at DEP, I oversaw at least a dozen rebuilding projects for Superstorm Sandy. And what extremely proud moments. I'll just share one more fun fact with you on this because everybody knows how the shoreline was just devastated from Sandy, right? The Friday after Sandy, I was able to go on an infrastructure tour with New Jersey American Water. And you literally had to have credentials to go anywhere near like Lavallette and Point Pleasant and all that. And it looked like a bombed out war zone. It was incredibly, incredibly painful to see. From that moment forward, every week, every Sunday, I'd say to Neil, come on, we have to go take our tour. And as they rebuilt Route 35, every Sunday we would go drive from whatever the beginning of that would be to the end, once you were allowed there, to see how things were coming along. And so, if I dragged my poor husband along on my Sunday infrastructure tour, because honestly, I couldn't go back to Trenton on Monday and do my job if I wasn't touching and feeling what exactly was going on there, and the pain that was continuing to be felt, to keep that sense of urgency, in me. So pretty incredible time in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, you are New Jersey. You really, really are. You exude it and you care so much about it. It's more than a state to you, and it's the people, and it's, you see it in such, it's not about numbers. Every person, I feel like you feel, and it's wonderful to hear. And it's nice to know that there are leaders out there that want to watch things grow and see them and touch them. Like you said, you couldn't go back to Trenton unless you went to go see what the rebuild was like. And that was amazing. And that's great. And what about at the chamber? What do you feel was that moment for you there?
Wow. We had a lot of extraordinary opportunities at the chamber. I think it was the ability, it was the culture that we built at the chamber. And you said it, Jody, before. I said this to many people, that we had a culture of relationship building. Our tagline was get connected, get results, right? Like the connectivity was going to make the difference for you. And we believe that, right? You and I mean, we believe in relationship and connection. And when we would talk about other chambers, so many were transactional. Come and do your deal and go home, right? Exchange the business card, call me for some business, and that's it. No, we created community, and that's why I love to say great businesses make great communities. Because think about, when a business owner comes home from work, right? What do? They take their suit off. Well, now they're remote working, so they're probably not wearing a suit anyway, right? But in any event, what did they do pre-COVID? They went out to the baseball and softball field and coached, right? They took the collection at church on the weekend, or worked at the synagogue. They paid for the parade and the fireworks. Like, what community exists without the job creators, who then in turn give back and invest in their community? So these are holistic little worlds, and the role of the business leader and the business community to the whole of the community is like the center puzzle piece right next to government. So that's why I get incredibly sad and frustrated when I hear people talk about corporate greed and corporate welfare, and how employers don't care about their employees. Oh, hogwash. We're so proud to represent business every day, because I see extraordinary leaders doing extraordinary things for their workforces and for their communities.
Oh, and that is really very, very true. And I'm just thinking about the evolution of your career and how amazing it was that, it really evolved over time, and going from that connector to then helping the state be sustainable, to then now helping businesses and advocating for businesses. So it's just a beautiful, it's been wonderful to see your evolution in your career. And even during the time through DEP, we didn't really talk that much. That we kind of had like a little bit of a blip in connection. And I was so glad when we picked back up when you went over to NJBIA and we started chatting again. Being a woman leader, being a woman and a leader, we don't always want to show that we don't know all the answers, right? Because when you're a woman leader, we're looked at under more of a microscope. I hate to say it, but you know it, I know it. That's why we created the Women's Business Leaders Network and Forum, and you did a great job. And we've been talking about that, smashing through that glass ceiling and all of those types of things. But what message do you have to share around this topic, as women are consistently looked under a microscope, and so many times they cannot share their vulnerability, and that can be extremely overwhelming, especially during a time like now where no leader has any answers, where we're in uncharted territories.
Yeah, just be genuine. Be who you are, but always bring your A game, or don't show up. Seriously, it is not worth damaging your reputation or your credibility. So when you show up with your A, not even A, your A+ game. That means you're prepared. That means you did your homework. That means you know the answers that you're expecting to get. And it means then that you're allowed to say, let me get back to you on that, right? Because people will trust you. But if you start shooting from the hip and pontificating, forget it. just forget it. And you can't fake it. You just can't fake it. So be genuine. Number two, don't go into places where you don't have the passion to be. Because again, this is about being genuine. You can't make up or fake passion, right? If you don't care about what it is you're doing, you need to get out of the game and go somewhere where your passion is going to show, because passion is contagious. And passion is not, when I say passion, I'm not talking about like giddy passion. Passion is like exude from your heart why something is so important to you, right? And then bring your serious level to that passion, and people will come along with you. Again, it's infectious and it's contagious. And you know what? Be nice. I had a woman, really powerful woman. I was so excited. I was having lunch with this woman some years ago. I couldn't even believe that I got lunch with her. I was like so thrilled. But she had made a comment, it like threw me to the ground, because she said, if someone describes you in 3 words and one of them is nice, you need to go back and think about it. And I was like, oh. And I came back and I went to one of my colleagues, and because I was like mortified, I went to one of my colleagues. I said, I got to talk about this because I really think it's important to be nice, and we talked it through. And I said, so look, we can all respect that we have different opinions about things, right? But in the end, you got to be true to yourself. And I can't not be who I am. And so, yes, nice, I would hope would be one of the 3 adjectives that come when people say, well, what do you think about Michele Siekerka?
This episode of Today is the Day Changemakers podcast is sponsored in part by Minding Your Business, a new weekly television show from the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. NJBIA's Minding Your Business highlights New Jersey businesses and the policy issues confronting them. Check it out on News 12 Plus every Saturday and Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. or watch it at njbia.org/MYB.
That's such a really great point, because that is the case, right? Because you want them to stay strong and independent and motivated and doesn't make any mistakes or whatever it is, however you want to describe someone. And as you say, you need to come prepared, but there are times we all make mistakes. And I think, what are your thoughts on this? But I think as long as you can own that, if you aren't,
absolutely
own it. It's okay to own it. We're all human too. We're not machines.
So I always, Jody, you hear me say this all the time, right? So I believe in empowering others, right? So with our own staff, we say this all the time. What's our culture at BIA? Empower everyone to be a decision maker from their chair, no matter where you sit in the organization. Okay. So number 1, empower them. Number 2, give them the tools so that they can deliver, because empowerment means nothing if you don't give them the tools that they need, right? And help them to execute. Right now, when they make the decision, once in a while they're going to trip and fall. So what do? We pick them up, we dust them off, we debrief, we say what happened there. We use a learning experience and a learning opportunity, but don't repeat it. If you repeat it and it's like, hey, you're not getting it. Okay. So now that's hold you accountable. And that's what you just said is exactly like, you got to hold yourself accountable and you have to own the moment. When I speak publicly a lot, right? I talk policy a lot. I'm very visible. And if I make a mistake, I have to own it. I have to own it. I can't back away from it. I can't try to pretend it didn't happen. I have to lean into it and I have to explain, why that happened. If I don't know something, I have to own why. Maybe it's not my subject matter expertise, so I'm going to defer it to somebody else, right? But to your point, absolutely own it.
So with that being said, do you feel that you really practice servant leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I think consistency is very important. And again, if you have a value set that you work on every day, and you've heard me say this a million times too, right? Work to the values and the result comes naturally. If you just work for a result, right? You ring the bell, chances are you probably lost a few soldiers in your march to winning that battle, right? So if you wake up and you have a core share of values that you work to every day, and you're consistent in that, people are going to know who you are, and there are no surprises. And to me, I think no surprises is very important. So sometimes I'm here, you want to ask what's criticism of yourself, Michele? I'm way too transparent. I am way too transparent. And sometimes transparency, when you're transparent about something early on, people can get too far ahead of you. And it's like, well, we didn't even like brainstorm that yet. I'm just sharing, like, I think maybe we want to try. And then people already like jump 10 steps ahead, right? To conclusions that you never wanted them to get to. And so one thing I've had to be really aware of myself is in my transparency, thinking, okay, if I put this on the table right now, where are people going to leap to? And am I ready? Am I ready to get there? Or do I have to wait on this because I have to be ready to answer to where they're going to leap to? And so a lot of that is your own self-awareness. There's another one, right? We all need to have self-awareness, and man, oh man, that just comes with maturity, which means
I have to agree. No, not old age. Totally not old age. But I totally do agree with you. Self-awareness is something that we all have to work on, because I think I say this in a lot of episodes about living in this cruise control society. We know what we have to get done. The goals are there. And it's kind of like we put the armor on of our title every day when we get dressed. Maybe we're not wearing the suits like you said, but we're still putting the armor on. And then we're kind of just cruising along, and we might not be paying attention to what's happening inside. And we also might not be paying attention to how we're connecting with our staff or clients. So it is really important to become self-aware. And I love what you said about how will people jump to what you say, because we need to know how does our team, our family, how do they react to what we're putting out there? Because we may not want to put it out there the exact way we're thinking about it. We might not get the reaction that we want. And I think that's really great self-awareness. So thanks for bringing that up. So you're a mom now of older twins now. And so, and I've loved hearing all the stories about them. They're incredible. What advice do you have for right now working mothers, whether they're leaders, they're in their careers, and they're also teaching right at their kitchen table right now, and it's so adorable to see the kids come onto the Zooms and the puppies and all of that, and hear them barking at the same time. What advice do you have for these women who are juggling it all right now, or dads? The dads are doing the same thing. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's doing it, my heart goes out to you. I couldn't imagine having to do the job that I'm doing today with my now 29-year-old twins being in primary school. I just couldn't. I couldn't even imagine. But we get it done, right? We get it done. But my heart goes out to them first and foremost. And yes, unfortunately, COVID has had a disparate impact on working mothers. There are dads doing it too. I see it in my own staff. I see the dads who are taking a primary role. But if you read the data, totally disparate to working women, and especially, working women of color. This is just, this is real. This is what the data shows us. So there, a few tips, and I think this is for all of us. Well, number one, when it comes to work-life balance, it just doesn't exist, right? You make it happen. I say all the time, when Brian and Caitlin were young, I read every self-help book that was out there. I read every book about work-life balance, and there is no silver bullet to it. Each day you have to approach what's your priority of the day. And some days, most days, every day your family comes first, but there are times that your family will not suffer when you put them second to something you must do to advance your career. And you'll know, but I do say always follow your gut, because your gut usually is honest with you. If your gut says, I got to go to that networking event tonight, and I'm gonna miss the one softball game, but so-and-so client's going to be there and they really need to see me there. Okay. Your daughter's going to understand that you missed that one softball game, right? You don't blow off all her softball games on purpose, right? But she's going to understand that you have commitments to other people as well. And that's important, because then they grow up with the values of knowing that the world is bigger than their own little bubble also, right? But the other thing right now in this COVID world is, I just have to say, cut yourself a break. Cut yourself a break. We as women carry so much mother guilt. First of all, we carry woman guilt. That's bad enough. Then we carry this mother guilt that is ridiculous, and nobody's imposing it on us except ourselves. So cut yourself a break. Allow yourself the flexibility that remote work gives you, right? If you've got to take those 2 hours during the day to sit and do work with your kids, or just to play with your children, right? Just do it and get the work done when they go to bed at night. That might not be ideal for your quality of life right now, but that's balance. Take advantage of the balance. I mean, that's why people want the opportunity to work from home, more flexibility, right? I don't have my young children home, but I have my 87-year-old mom with me, okay? And she's not with me 100% of the time. I'm fortunate enough that we have a second home that I can go work to as well, and she can be independent. But you know what? When I'm with her, I have to take her out to run errands during the day, because she can't sit in the house all day alone and be isolated. Well, I'm not going to do that at 5, 6 o'clock at night when it's dark in the winter, right? So yeah, I look at my calendar and I go, come on, mom, I got a 2-hour break. Let's go to the Aldi, because she loves the Aldi, right? Okay. And let me get her out of the house for a while. So we got to cut ourselves a break. We know that we're delivering, right? If we're not delivering, we have to ask why. And then maybe we have to go to our employer and say, hey, look, maybe I can't take that project on right now. What is that going to mean for my career? Because I just got too much on my plate. So just cut yourself a break on the other guilt.
You just brought up a really great point, which I really love, is that honesty with your employer. And if you can't be, and it's not the right dynamic, then you need to think about that, because it's really important that the leader that you're responsible to report to understands your value system, because you don't want to go against your value system. And I know that can't be for everybody, and there's all different types of leaders. But I think the goal of this podcast as well is about talking openly about different leadership styles and being able for other leaders to see where they might want to start morphing into doing other ways of leadership if they're not a servant leader. And then, make sure that you're very appreciative to those who are, because not everybody started there, and they're have to have some self-awareness, as you said, in order to get there. So that was really great. And you mentioned something about self-care. What does Michele do? What do you do to connect to how do you connect once you're out of the office to yourself? What are those amazing things that you do in your downtime?
Yeah, so the reason why the winter is so tough, especially the months of January and February, is because it's New Jersey and the weather is horrible. Because for me, in the nice weather, I'm up at 5:30 in the morning. I'm up for sunrise, and I'm out for my, I call it my walk run. I can't run a straight 3 miles because it'll bust out my knees, right? But I do my walk run. I got a good clip, so I get my good energy in. But I'm out for almost 90 minutes every morning. I do my 3-mile walk run, and then I get on my bike. And if I'm fortunate enough to be down at Sea Isle, I ride the island. I just take the whole loop. And man, oh man, my head is so clear that when I go to that computer at 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning, I've got that fresh air in my head, and I am clear. I am clear. In the winter, this morning it was, I'll do my core inside, or I have a treadmill in the garage, and I'll go out on my treadmill. So, but for me, I've learned that physical health is the next most important thing to create mental health, and I try to convince others that once it gets in your system as a bug, you're like almost weak if you don't get it regularly. And then one more thing, Jody, is we have to take time off. We have to take time off. And people say, well, what are you talking about? I'm working from home. There's nowhere to go. So this past weekend, I knew Monday our office was closed, right? So I took Friday off. I said, I'm taking a long weekend. And guess what? I'm going to take a long weekend every month. Now, I'm still going to get up on that Friday morning, and I'm going to check my email from 7 to 10 or whatever. But guess what? I'm not on the work schedule, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to take a book, or I'm going to do a house errand that I've been dying to do, something lame like clean out the garage, right? But a sense of accomplishment of getting there. We have to get off the grid, and we can get off the grid when you're remote working. It just means not being here. It means being here for yourself.
Yeah, that is so important and so true. And it's so important to have that downtime. And for those of us who are, I'll raise my hand as a recovering workaholic, it's hard, but I love to paint. And you know what I mean? And that's my thing. And once I get into that, like you with the biking and the walk run, my head is clear. And I never thought that could happen, but I wish I could be a morning person like you and get up and do 90 minutes. I'm going to keep striving for that, Michele. Maybe one of these days.
Well, you know what? The other side of it is I'm not a night owl. And so I'm, I was always a morning person, so that means I crash at night. So I'm not good for 10 p.m. TV shows.
My problem is I'm up until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning every night. I am. So I need to move my exercise routine to the evening. That's so funny. So I ask every guest this question, and so much great learnings are shared. If you knew then what you know now, what would that be? And it could be more than one thing, but what would that be that you could share? That would be a great learning that you had that you could share with someone who's listening.
Yeah, I think back over my career, and again, a lot of it, I've always been a triple type A personality. I still am, but I'm definitely more mellow than I was as a younger version of myself. I was just a have at it, have at it, have at it, just go at it, go at it, go at it. I always say I could be the spokesperson for Nike, because it's like, just do it, and I don't have the tolerance for spinning in a circle on like, just do it. And so I think as I look back, I'm there may be some times that I might say, even to myself, okay, I could have lightened up a little bit there. I will, oh, here you go with the mother guilt, right? I will absolutely carry mother guilt of, was I there enough for my kids when they were young? Now I'm super proud of my kids. My kids are awesome people. I think they got a good value set. But my husband and I laugh on any given day. It's like, well, geez, how bad did we muck up those kids? And it's like, no, we didn't, because look, they turned out great. And they do, trust yourself. So, I don't think it is one thing. I think I go back and I think of, those learning moments, right? I'll go back and think of a particular situation that I handled a certain way and say, oh, if I were the me today, but that, again, that's that maturity thing, like it takes years of experience to inform yourself. And I always say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I have had a lot of what doesn't kill you moments that have forced me to make me stronger. I worked very, very hard. Nothing in my life ever came easy to me. So I'm proud of where I am. I've been given great opportunities, right? I work hard, and that's why those opportunities presented themselves. I'm not going to cut myself short there, but I have been fortunate to be in a good place to have those opportunities present themselves to me. But learn from everything and have it develop you into the next best iteration of yourself.
Oh, that was so well put. Thank you for sharing that. And the one last thing I do want to ask, because there's so many businesses right now that are really struggling. They don't know what their future looks like. What advice do you have for them as they're trying to figure everything out?
Yeah, don't give up. Don't give up. Hang in there, but also don't just sit there waiting for the next, grant to come your way that's only going to pay your staff for another week. Right? This is the time for every business to sit back and reinvent. We've had to do it at BIA. Okay. Just like we reinvent ourselves in how we work these days, we need to reinvent our business model, because the world's changed forever. I mean, we're not flipping a switch anywhere here in the next 6 months and all of a sudden we're back to where we were January 2020. Ain't happening, right? This world has changed forever. And whether it's COVID or social equity or economic disparity, this world has changed forever. And if we don't lean into that and say, how do I have a business model for the economy of the future? You're going to be left behind. And there's ways to do it. And folks like us at BIA can help you and connect you to think about, how do you strategize for that next best iteration of your business that is the business model of tomorrow.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And businesses need to know that NJBIA is here. We answer, I know there's a phone number there that you can call and ask questions and connectors. Yes, there's membership, but the one thing that I will say is that Michele really outlined all the wonderful things that the organization can do. And as you can see, it has a great leader who really cares about the trajectory of all the businesses across the state. So thank you, Michele, for being that thought leader, that change agent, and just an incredible person with a big heart who wants to make a difference here in the state of New Jersey. I know all the businesses and all of us appreciate it.
Jody, thanks. And thank you for everything that you do. We talked about a vision for giving our nonprofits a voice for years at BIA. We have, a few thousand nonprofits that are members. They're employers too, and they have the exact same issues. The only difference is their tax code designation. And you were instrumental in getting that off the ground. And really helping to create the connection. So thank you for your leadership with that. And thank you for what you do for your community through Applaud Our Kids and your foundation. You are an incredible change maker, and you make a difference in so many communities. I thank you for that. And it's, I'm proud to call you a friend and a colleague.
Oh, same here. I mean, we talk about mentorship. I mean, you are so on the top of the list for that for me also. So please always know that. I truly appreciate it. And one thing you said before, with the nonprofits, if you lead with, I truly believe this, if you lead with mission, the money and the funding will follow. But if you start out with worrying about transaction, like you talked about with the chamber, it doesn't happen that way. It's all about relationships. And that's why it's incredible to have people in your life, like I have Michele and some others. So, always look to find those people. I think that's the one thing. Mentorship is really key. And Michele, I'm assuming you've had some great mentors along the way as well.
Oh, absolutely. And But my mentor relationships were much more informal through my lifetime. As I was coming up, it was just a different time. You didn't really talk about that so much and say, oh, give me a mentor. So what I always did is I looked at people who I admired. And then I said, what skills in that person do I want to emulate? And then try to internalize that. And I've got a list of a handful of people. And then when I get caught up sometimes, I will do what would so-and-so say? What would so-and-so do right now? How would so-and-so handle this situation? And for women, please know your mentors don't all have to be female either. Some of my absolute best mentors, especially being a young attorney at the time, some of my best mentors were men.
Yeah, and it's me too. I have a mix. And you don't have to have, like you said, doesn't have to be formal, but I've formalized one or two of those relationships, and I have to say they've come bearing books for me to read and great stories to share. So whatever works for you, but definitely look for those people who are emulating, and where they are in their life, you would love to be able to be as well. Michele, I can't thank you enough for your time. I know how busy you are. Thank you so much for this.
This is great. Thanks so much.
No problem. So everyone, I hope you'll join me next week for Today is the Day Changemakers, another episode that launches every single Wednesday. But I also want to say, like I always do, today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. What steps are you going to take today to get you closer to your goal? Doesn't matter how small or large they are. I hope everybody has a fabulous week. And again, thank you so much to my guest, Michele, today. I so appreciated your time.
Thank you.
Everybody.